What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Survivor Series 2022 War Games review. Hold on. Do something real quick. There we go. Nice. Alright, so Survivor Series 2022 was for the better part a good show, a good pay-per-view, a nice pay-per-view, a nice streak Triple H got going with the pay-per-views. Yeah, I think it was only one match-wise. There was only one match that I didn't really like. Everything else was okay, and more or less the War Games matches lived up to the hype. But let's break it down. The first match of the night, they kicked off. So it was no kickoff match, but they started the actual pay-per-view with the women's War Game, Team Bianca versus Team Damage Control, and I think Bianca started. I can't remember the exact orders of everybody who came out, but I know Bianca started the match, and I think she started against Dakota Kai. I remember that much. It was Dakota Kai and Bianca Belair who started the match for the women's War Games. And basically, to give you, so I don't have to repeat this for the men's, when the two people start, basically it's 5 minutes. The actual War Games match do not start until all 10 competitors are in the ring. Due to the matches they had beforehand, certain teams have the advantage when it comes to who comes in next. For the women's, it was the heels or Team Damage Control who had the advantage here. So it was, like I said, the Bianca, Dakota Kai, then someone else from Damage Control, then Bianca's team, so on and so forth. Their win meant that for Team Damage Control, up until all 10 competitors are in the ring, there was always going to be more Damage Control members versus Team Bianca members. Up until, like I said, all 10 competitors. The match itself was okay. They did. It was pretty much started off like a trip, it was like basically a 1-on-1. Then it went to like a handicap. Then it was tag team. It was sort of. It didn't really pick up until like Nikki Cross got in there, because she was the one who finally started introducing weapons. And then by the time all 10 competitors got in the ring, it was so much weapons in there and mayhem and carnage. That's when the match really picked up. I think Io Sky again got one of the highlights of the War Games match yet again. I think she went off she did like a somersault off the top of the cage onto the competitors. The match itself was good. I was thoroughly entertained. I will say this: the difference between the men's and the women's. The women's had more weapon usage than the men's did. The men's. I guess you could say if we judging off a scale of 1 to 10, the women's on the scale of how much they use weapons, the women's were about a 7, and the men's was about like a 5 or 6. Just to put it in that perspective. But yeah, the women's used a lot more weapons than the men's did. A lot more variety too. Like they used trash cans lids, kendo sticks, tables, and ladders. I think we see with the men's, we just seen like, well, I'll get to it. Anyway, the match was good in itself, and Team Bianca ended up picking up the victory thanks to Becky Lynch. Finn Balor's match was up next. The Finn versus AJ Styles match was up next, and that was pretty much a decent. That was the better. It was only 2 1-on-1 matches, and this was the better of the two, with AJ Styles and Finn Balor. They did their thing. They worked well together. And they, as they should, they've been on the indie scenes together. So you would know they would work well together in the ring. And they put on a good match. I think Dominic Mysterio tried to interfere, which caused the rest of Judgment Day and OC to come down to the ring and basically level the playing field, allowing AJ and Finn Balor to get back to their one-on-one match. And surprisingly, AJ Styles got the victory here. I actually thought Finn Balor was going to go over AJ Styles, but they actually had AJ Styles beat Finn Balor. But yeah, it was a good match, solid good match. Now, the next one-on-one match, which was Shotzi Blackheart versus Ronda Rousey for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I think one of two championship matches that was on the card, and this was the worst match of the night. Out of all the matches, this was the worst one because it just, for one, they didn't try to build Shotzi up in the match. You know, they tried to build her up a little bit on the shows, but in the match itself, they really didn't try to make her like what they did for her was that they ain't make it like a usual jobber match. Like she was elevated, like she was jobber and she got elevated just a little bit above jobber because they let her get enough offense and enough fighting in to say that at least one day in the future she could become women's champion. Because she took some beating from Ronda Rousey and interference from Shayna Baszler. They even had to look a cool spot in the crowd with some fans, but they really weren't fans. They were plants. Because they not about to allow Shotzi and the wrestlers to dive onto the fans and stuff like that. So they were plants. But yeah, they had a cool little. You know, if your kids didn't realize it, you know, they was like, oh God, the wrestlers get like that with the fans, and you know, you don't want to tell your kids those weren't real fans. But yeah, other than that, the match itself was completely garbage. I mean, there was a little hiccups here and there, but other than that, it was just a bad. Mostly, it was like I said, it wasn't a complete jobber, but it wasn't something that you could get into. It was just basically around selling some stuff. Then when she quit selling, that's when the match really went downhill. But yeah, this was like the worst match of the night. But Ronda Rousey won, and she's still your women's SmackDown Women's Champion. Now, back to some good matches. We got Bob. This is like the co-main event. We got the United States Championship match, which is Bobby Lashley versus Austin Theory versus Seth freaking Rollins for the United States Championship. And man, it was a good match. And what really was good for me was that it was the person who actually won. And I'm gonna get to that. But the match itself was good. They took out Austin Theory, and him and Seth. Bobby Lashley took out Austin Theory, but then Austin Theory tried to get back in the ring. Then Seth Rollins did. Him and Bobby went at it. Then Austin Theory finally got some in. I think the finish came down to Austin Theory to get ready to do something to Seth Rollins, but he got speared. No, Seth Rollins was getting ready to do something to Austin Theory, and he got speared, and Austin Theory fell on top of Seth Rollins, pinning him 1, 2, 3, and Austin Theory is your new United States Champion. Now, as over as Seth Rollins is, I did not expect they was 2 for 2. I did not expect who won. If anything, if other than Seth Rollins, I thought it would be Bobby Lashley. I did not think Austin Theory was going to win here at all. Just like I thought Finn Balor was going to beat AJ, I thought at least Bobby or Seth was going to win, and they totally went. I was like, wow, I did not see that. I legit did not guess that Austin Theory would win and be the new United States Champion. But hey, maybe Triple H do got some faith in Austin Theory. But now down to the main event, which was the men's Wargames match, and well, let me get through this. Then I'll explain why I said earlier it kind of lived up to it. But I forgot that there was a backstage promo with with Jay telling Roman what happened on SmackDown, and then Roman confronting Sammy about it, and Sammy basically telling Roman the truth why he lied to Jay about talking to Kevin Owens and whatnot and what for. Now that you know that that happened, well, and you know he's been and pleading his allegiance, saying that he's with the bloodline and that he's totally 100% with the bloodline. The match itself was good. I think who started off? Butch started off for Team Brawling Brutes, and Jay started off for the bloodline. And then I think since the Brawling Brutes had the upper hand, I mean, since they won the match on SmackDown, I think Ridge Holland came out next, and then when it was time for this is about all I remember in order who came out. I remember Jimmy wanted to come out, but Roman was like, no, you stay here. And he sent Sammy in to help Jay. And kept Jimmy, and I think Jimmy did. I can't remember. I think Drew came out next. Yeah, Drew, and then Jimmy came out, and that's about all I can remember after that. But the match was good. They used some weapons as well, some tables. They used I think they used a lot more tables than the women's did, but there was no ladders. There was some trash cans. There was some trash cans, some chairs. But other than that, the match was good. It was kind of centered around like once everybody got in the ring, you know, they kept song like Kevin Owens and Sammy like squaring up like they was about to fight, but they always get interrupted. And I don't think they actually ever fought into like the final moment on the match where Sammy finally had to like he finally had to do something, and he low blows Kevin Owens, and then he got the okay from Roman, and he Luna kick Kevin Owens and laid him out for Jay to get the splash and the victory for the bloodline. And at the end, Roman embraced Sammy because he actually picked the side over. He picked them over Kevin Owens, and which was like I guess something in the back of their mind. And Jay of all people actually finally to embrace Sami Zayn because he couldn't believe that Sami actually picked them over his best friend Kevin Owens, so he finally embraced them as well. So it was some very good storytelling. That was like the better part of the man's War Games match, was that it had more character development with Sami Zayn and the Bloodline than where the women's was just pure just awesomeness and spectacle. This was more about telling the story. Overall, with the bad match and the War Games so living up to the hype, from what I've seen, the War Games matches on NXT was a little bit better than these ones, but overall, I would give it an 8 out of 10 big ups. It was still a superb pay-per-view with some unexpected victories that I didn't see coming. But you let me know in the comments down below what you thought of Survivor Series War Games. And if you enjoyed this video, you hit this button right here for all of my daily reviews. And if you enjoyed this review video so much you want to support the channel, you know what to do, guys. Hit those buttons. And as always, hit any one of these videos for more of my amazing content. But don't go anywhere, because I got some reactions and gameplay coming up. Peace.